Hi, I'm Rick Conlow. I'm glad you're here. I really appreciate you coming today because we're going to talk about an area that's near and dear to my heart, and I call it the secret sauce to employee engagement. Now, here's a sad fact. 87% of employees worldwide are disengaged. So in other words, are companies really believing in employee engagement? I don't think they do. Because if they did, those numbers would be different. Now in the U.S., it's 70%. But still, that's a pathetic number. It ought to be 90% are engaged. And why isn't it? Well, we'll dig into that a little bit as we go forward. But here's part of it. You know, and it's represented by this young man named Eric Weinmeier. Eric Weinmeier is blind. He went blind when he was early teens. And his friend got him engaged in mountain climbing. Or rock climbing, really, first. And then they went to mountains, and he climbed mountains. And here he is in this picture. To make a long story short, he's climbing Mount Everest, and he made it to the top. He's the first blind person in the history of the world to climb to the top of the mountain. And Eric, liked rock climbing because when he was blind, he could touch things and feel things, and it made him feel like he had more sense of control, and he was able to do what he wanted to do. And here's the thing, that's not an easy thing to do when you can't see. It's not an easy thing to do when you can see. And what it epitomizes is the potential we have in people. The next great revolution in leadership thought is going to be the power of people. Right now we're going through the power of technology, but the power of people is coming. Because that's what employee engagement is all about, is how do you tap that potential of people? Well, it begins by believing that people had value. They're not just a number, okay? They're not human resources. They're not the soft side of the business. They're the ones that get the work done. They're the ones that innovate. They're the ones that execute. They're the ones that go the extra mile for the customer. Employee engagement pays. See, we don't get that stuff I just described unless people believe that you believe in them, and you demonstrate it day in and day out. Employee engagement pays. Research shows that employees who are highly engaged, 202% better performance. That's significant. When you talk about companies worldwide limping around with 2 and 3 and maybe 4% growth and what's going on, and many of them negative, this is priceless here. It just doesn't pay. It's priceless. So we need to pay attention to it. So what is that secret sauce? Well, employee engagement is not a survey or a plan. It's ownership. Many companies have an employee engagement survey. They do once a year, every 2 years. And it tells them what employees are saying, and a lot of times what the employees say. I've seen a lot of them, read a lot of them, helped do some of them, and here's what they say. We don't communicate around here. We don't feel valued. We don't know what our benefits are. I don't get any recognition. Nobody supports me in a job, give me training. Same stuff comes up over and over again. Now, I realize there are exceptions to that in some leaders, in some companies. But it's not the survey and it's not the plan that's employee engagement, because a lot of times the plan gets put together and it doesn't execute it. It isn't used to change anything materially. It's ownership. What does ownership mean? Ownership means that people buy into the philosophy, the values, and the plan of the organization. And because they buy into it, they become spirited patriots, not paid mercenaries. So they put their heart into what they do. I have another training that gives you a roadmap for engagement with 4 key tactics to make that happen, to build partnership. And it's input, improve, involve, interact. So just briefly, I'll comment on input. Means you ask for people's opinion in a variety of ways. And as you get their opinion and use some of their thoughts, they buy in more. They build commitment. Improve is you use them in teams to help you improve various work processes or action plans to improve the goal, rather than you making all decisions. Involve means is you look for ways to delegate responsibility to help them grow and learn. And interact means is that leadership is a high contact sport. You do a good job of having team meetings. You do a good job of creating one-on-one goals. You coach. And then all 4 of these together creates an environment where people feel a part of something. It isn't just a job. It's a career or maybe even a cause. about what they want to accomplish and how well they can do that. That's what I'm talking about with partnership. That's what makes the difference. What happens is employees perform better. And they'll do it time and time again, not just one time, but in an ongoing basis. See, employee engagement really isn't hard. It's about treating people with respect and dignity, as people with a mind that has value, that, you just don't do what the company plan says or the book. You tap into that potential and help them. That's what partnership is. You work together to do it, not just being told what to do. Boy, I tell you, sometimes it seems so simple, but yet we make it so hard in our organizations today about what's going on. Hey, do you want your team to improve? Do you want that engagement to get better? And you got to change as a leader. Maybe some of this that I've talked about you're already doing well, but you got to become a student of the game and work at it. Leadership is a high contact sport. Employee engagement requires that kind of interaction. We need to know what motivates people, and in our leadership practices, in our efforts to create engagement, you got to buy into that, like Hertzberg says, that achievement, that recognition, the work itself, just having pride in what you're doing, responsibility, advancement, growth, and learning. All of that is what motivates people. And so that roadmap that I talked to you about takes that into consideration and builds it into what we need to do as a leader. Notice what's not on that list. Money. Money's not in there. Research has found that money demotivates as many as it motivates. Now, everybody needs to be paid fair. What they're looking for is something where they can have some value. People spend so much time at work, 8, 10, 12 hours a day, weekends, for heaven's sakes. And they need to see the value. They need to see it add to the quality of their life and not just put in the time and the stress and the pain of their life. See what I'm talking about there? Hey, it's all possible. We talk more about this in our resources that we have in our organization, in our book, Superstar Leadership. And we believe that employee engagement is a product of what a leader does. Because the single greatest impact on an employee's performance is their direct supervisor. And it's the key to a leader's success. I hope this was helpful and useful to you. Look up that other training that I talked about. I have this dream that soars on golden wings. I visualize your achievements and your legacy that sings. I do not know all about your awesome goals or your persistent efforts to raise the bar. I only know you can be the best, a superstar. Hey, thanks for coming. Have a great day.